wicked one, your fate shall be to dangle on a cord, and your posterity forever shall take your example, that your punishment may last forever." Even as she spoke, before withdrawing from her victim's sight, she sprinkled her with juice, extract of herbs of Hecate. At once all hair fell off, her nose and ears remained not, and her head shrunk rapidly in size as well as all her body, leaving her diminutive. Her slender fingers gathered to her sides as long thin legs, and all her other parts were fast absorbed in her abdomen, whence she vented a fine thread, and ever since Arachne, as a spider, weaves her web. All Lydia was astonished at her fate. The rumour spread to Phrygia. Soon the world was filled with fear and wonder. Niobe had known her long before, when in Maeonia near to Mount Sipylus, but the sad fate which overtook Arachne, lost on her, never ceased her boasting and refused to honour the great gods. So many things increased her pride. She loved to boast her husband's skill, their noble family, the rising grandeur of their kingdom. Such felicities were great delights to her, but nothing could exceed the haughty way she boasted of her children. And in truth Niobe might have been adjudged on earth the happiest mother of mankind, if pride had not destroyed her wit. It happened then that Manto, daughter of Tiresias, who told the future, when she felt the fire of prophecy descend upon her, rushed upon the street and shouted in the midst, "You women of Ismenias! Go and give to high Latona and her children twain incense and prayer. Go, and with laurel wreathe your hair in garlands as your sacred prayers arise to heaven. Give heed, for by my speech Latona has ordained these holy rites." At once the Theban women wreathe their brows with laurel, and they cast in hallowed flame the grateful incense, while they supplicate all favours of the ever-living gods. And while they worship, Niobe comes there, surrounded with the troop that follow her, and most conspicuous in her purple robe, bright with inwoven threads of yellow gold. Beautiful in her anger, she tosses back her graceful head. The glory of her hair shines on her shoulders. Standing forth, she looks upon them with her haughty eyes and taunts them. Madness has prevailed on you to worship some imagined gods of heaven, which you have only heard of. But the gods that truly are on earth and can be seen are all neglected. Come, explain to me, why is Latona worshipped and adored, and frankincense not offered unto me? For my divinity is known to you. Tantalus was my father, who alone approached the tables of the gods in heaven. My mother, sister of the Pleiades, was daughter of huge Atlas, who supports the world upon his shoulders. I can boast of Jupiter as father of my sire. I count him also as my father-in-law. The peoples of my Phrygia dread my power, and I am mistress of the palace built by Cadmus. By my husband I am queen of those great walls that reared themselves to the sweet music of his sounding lyre. We rule together all the people they encompass and defend. And everywhere my gaze is turned, an evidence of wealth is witnessed. In my features you can see the beauty of a goddess, but above that majesty is all the glory due to me, the mother of my 7 sons and daughters 7. And the time will come when by their marriage they will magnify the circle of my power invincible. All must acknowledge my just cause of pride, and must no longer worship, in despite of my superior birth, this deity, a daughter of ignoble Coeus, whom one time the great earth would not even grant sufficient space for travail, whom the heavens, the land, the sea together once compelled to wander, hopeless on all hostile shores. Throughout the world she found herself rebuffed, till Delos, sorry for the vagrant, said, "Homeless, you roam the lands, and I the seas." And even her refuge always was adrift, and there she bore 2 children, who compared with mine are but as 1 to 7. Who denies my fortunate condition? Who can doubt my future? I am surely safe. The wealth of my abundance is too strong for fortune to assail me. Let her rage despoil me of large substance, yet so much would still be mine, for I have risen above the blight of apprehension. But suppose a few of my fair children should be taken. Even so deprived, I could not be reduced to only 2, as this Latona, who might quite as well be childless. Get you gone from this insensate sacrifice. Make haste, cast off the wreathing laurels from your brows. They plucked the garlands from their hair, and left the sacrifice, obedient to her will, although in gentle murmurs they adored the goddess Niobe had so defamed. Latona, furious when she heard the speech, flew swiftly to the utmost peak of Cynthus, and spoke to her 2 children in these words: "Behold your mother, proud of having borne such glorious children. I will yield prestige before no goddess, save alone immortal Juno. I have been debased, and driven for all ages from my own, my altars unto me devoted long, and so must languish through eternity, unless by you sustained. Nor is this all. That daughter of Tantalus, bold Niobe, has added curses to her evil deeds, and with a tongue as wicked as her sire's has raised her base-born children over mine. Has even called me childless. A sad fate more surely should be hers. Oh, I entreat—" But Phoebus answered her, "No more complaint is necessary, for it only serves to hinder the swift sequel of her doom." And with the same words Phoebe answered her. And having spoken, they descended through the shielding shadows of surrounding clouds, and hovered on the citadel of Cadmus. There, far below them, was a level plain which swept round those walls, where trampling steeds with horny hoofs and multitudinous wheels had beaten a wide track, and on the field the older sons of Niobe on steeds emblazoned with bright dyes and harness rich with studded gold were circling. One of these, Ismenus, first-born of his mother, while controlling his fleet courser's foaming mouth, cried out, "Ah, wretched me!" A shaft had pierced the middle of his breast, and as the reins dropped slowly on the rapid courser's neck, his drooping form fell forward to the ground. Not far from him, his brother, Sipylus, could hear the whistling of a fatal shaft, and in his fright urged on the plunging steed, as when the watchful pilot, sensible of storms approaching, crowds on sail, hoping to catch a momentary breeze, so fled he, urging an impetuous flight. But while he fled, the shaft unerring flew, transfixed him with its quivering death, struck where the neck supports the head and the sharp point protruded from his throat. In his swift flight, as he was leaning forward, he was struck, and rolling over the wild horse's neck, pitched to the ground, and stained it with his blood. Unhappy Phaedimus and Tantalus, so named from his maternal grandsire, now had finished coursing on the track, and smooth, shining with oil, were wrestling in the field, and while these brothers struggled breast to breast, another arrow, hurtling from the sky, pierced them together just as they were clinched. The mingled sound that issued from two throats was like a single groan. Convulsed with pain, the wrestlers fell together on the ground, where, stricken with a double agony, rolling their eyeballs, they sobbed out their lives. Alphenor saw them die, beating his breast in agony, ran to lift in his arms their lifeless bodies cold. While doing this, he fell upon them. Phoebus struck him so, piercing his midriff in a vital part, with fatal shot, which when he pulled it forth, dragged with its barb a torn clot of his lung. His blood and life poured out upon the air. The youthful Damascion was next struck, not only once. An arrow pierced his leg just where the sinews of the thigh began, and as he turned and stooped to pluck it out, another keen shaft shot into his neck, up to the fletching. The blood drove it out and spouted after it in crimson jets. Then Ilioneus, last of 7 sons, lifted his unavailing arms in prayer and cried, "O universal deities, gods of eternal heaven, spare my life!" Besought too late, Apollo of the bow could not prevail against the deadly shaft already on its way, and yet his will, compellent, acted to retard its flight, so that it cut no deeper than his heart. The rumours of an awful tragedy, the wailings of sad Niobe's loved friends, the terror of her grieving relatives, all gave her some knowledge of her sudden loss, but so bewildered and enraged her mind that she could hardly realize the gods had privilege to dare against her might. Nor would she till her lord Amphion thrust his sword deep in his breast, by which his life and anguish both were ended in dark night. Alas, proud Niobe, once haughty queen, proud Niobe, who but so lately drove her people from Latona's altars, while moving majestic through the midst, she hears their plaudits, now so bitterly debased, her meanest enemy may pity her. She fell upon the bodies of her sons, and in a frenzy of maternal grief kissed their unfeeling lips. Then unto heaven with arms accusing railed upon her foe, "Glut your revenge, Latona, glut your rage, yea, let my lamentations be your joy. Go, satiate your flinty heart with death. Are not my 7 sons all dead? Am I not waiting to be carried to my grave? Exult and triumph, my victorious foe. Victorious? Nay, much more remains to me in all my uttermost sorrow than to you, you gloater upon vengeance. Undismayed I stand victorious in my field of woe." No sooner had she spoken Then the cord twanged from the ever ready bow,